Alright, here I have a couple more comments, just one actually, from AC Voem. Hypocrite! You are full of hate against the truth and Christians. What did Jesus do for you to hate him so much? If only you knew his love for you, which transcends knowledge of him. It is actual spiritual substance that is intangible but very real and evident in the life of a believer. So that is in a comment to one of my videos about, I don't even know what I was about, I don't know, I was trashing Jesus or something, like always. And then this person, and then, you know, AC Voem and I got in a conversation about, you know, what is love and what is truth. But basically, no, you're not hearing me. Jesus is not true. See, if Jesus is not true, then I'm allowed to hate him. I'm allowed to. In the same way that you're allowed to hate Muhammad or Joseph Smith for anything that they said that might not be true. Let's pretend that Joseph Smith is not real. Let's pretend that he's a false prophet. Then the book that he wrote is a bunch of bullshit. And if there's something in there and Nephi says to his son, you should do this and that, you can hate Nephi for saying that. You're allowed to. That's just, I'm allowed to. Same thing with Muhammad. I can really hate that son of a bitch married that 9-year-old girl, or fucked that 9-year-old girl, married that 6-year-old girl. I can be really upset about that. I can be mad. Even if it didn't happen. Even if he didn't fly to Jerusalem, I can be mad about that event. Even if it's fiction, which Jesus is. And so I'm very mad about the Jesus fiction because the Jesus fiction permeates our society like the Muhammad fiction permeates the society of the Middle East. And we can hate them. The people in the Middle East can hate Muhammad for the control that he's being used for. And that's what's going on here. The name of Christ is being used to control this population, to keep them in line, to keep them doing what they're told. And it's demonstrable if you're willing to criticize God a tiny little bit, at all. If you're willing to do it at all, criticize God at all, I can take him down. But if you're not, then it won't happen. And not because you can see that the determiner in that is not whether or not God's real, it's whether or not you're willing to criticize him. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult to do, criticizing God. And I know why, and I can tell you why. I might have written it down a little bit, might have written some notes about it. I don't think so. But people take their God very, very personally and then wonder why. Why it feels like when someone's making fun of my God, it feels almost like they're making fun of me. And it's not. We should be able to separate the two ideas, you and your God. The reason that you can't separate the two ideas is because there is no separation. You are your God and you always have been. Because all of these religious societies who do believe in a God, they believe in an idea similar to WWJD, what would Jesus do? That idea, what would Jesus do? Now the only way to answer that idea or that question is with your stupid imperfect brain, right? That's the only device that we have at the moment that can even address that or answer that question, can even come up with an answer. What would Jesus do? And you'll find that if that is the question that we're using to determine what Jesus would do in this time, that he's not making the decision. We are writing the fiction of Jesus every day. And when we buy into that fiction of Jesus, when we start asking the question, what would Jesus do? We can't answer that question because I've never met the fucker. And everything I read about him in the book is like, why the fuck did he do that? So I know that what Jesus would do would be something different than what I would do, and it would like make me feel weird about him. That's all I know about what Jesus would do. He wouldn't do what I would do. He would do something else and it would be kind of weird, and it would need apologetics to explain it to me. Just like everything else Jesus did. It was, he said it was nice, but it was kind of not nice the way he treated his mum. And he said it was nice, but it was kind of not nice the way he treated the Gentiles. And he said it was nice, but it was kind of not nice the way he treated women. So, it would be something like that. What would Jesus do in this circumstance? I don't know, but it would have to be explained to me in a class on Sunday. But when we do answer it with something like, well, he would give money to that poor person, we're not answering the question we were given. We're answering a different question. And the question is, what would I do if I was Jesus? Now, if we start answering those questions, you can see why our idea of Christ or idea of God becomes very personal. Because the God that we are projecting up into the sky isn't coming from the data that we gather about this planet. It's not coming from the whispers in our dreams that God is giving to us. It's coming from the projection that we are putting up there of ourselves, the reflection of ourselves that we want to see in our Sky Father. And that's okay. That's what everyone's been doing this whole time, this entire time. Every human has been born and brought up into this place and tried to figure out who the God of this place is and projected themselves up into the sky. We all do it. So you don't have to feel bad about it. You don't have to stop. You just have to understand that's what we're doing, and then you can do it a little bit safer. But instead of, God created us in his image, which is pretty stupid and bipedal, and what's with the hair on the top and down here? Why the hair, God? This is a weird fucking bullshit image. You poop out the back, God, just like me? This is how you're designed? I don't think so. I don't think God's got a poop hole out the back, do you? I don't think so. So, maybe instead of him creating us in his image, maybe we created him in ours. But that's alright. That's what we get to do. That's what we all have done. That's what Abraham has done. And then when Abraham died, that's what Isaac did to his dad's God. He changed it. Jacob as well. Abraham couldn't tell us who his God is anymore. He was dead. So Isaac and Jacob, and then what's his name? Joseph. They all did. They all told us what their God looked like. But now it's our turn. It's our turn down here. Up there, it's their turn. It's their time up there. And that's all over the moment we go up Troy's bucket. You know where that's from? That's right. That's right. You've read your scriptures. It's good to see. It's good to see a generation who remembers their scriptures. A lot of people don't take the time anymore to read their scriptures, to go out there and listen to the things and listen to the points of views and hear the poetries and feel what resonates in their hearts and then write it down in their scriptures. A lot of people have very empty scriptures, very empty. No references to connect us into the collective. Anyway, we were talking about God and how he's a reflection of us and how he's a reflection of all of us. Like, our God is a very personal God here in this country. We can afford that. But it's also a collective God, a reflection of us. The Christian idea is what we as a society strive to be like, right? But, I mean, it's a collaborative effort. But we don't have to listen to the bullshit parts that people put in. Like, you can add your shit. You're totally allowed to add your shit to the idea, because that's really important. That every single facet of this gem that we call humanity, each one of us gets to speak as clearly as we are ever able to and say how it looks from this point, from here where I am, when nobody else is. This is how it looks. We want more of that. We want all of that. But we also want the ability to remove the large pieces of shit that are just hanging around. Like things like, look, I don't want to upset anybody, but, you know, the hatred of the gays. Let's do that one. That was really easy and topical. Because the Church of Jesus Christ, well, my church, the one that I grew up in, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, is having a real hard time with the gays right now. The Mormons, right? The Mormons and the gays are fighting. Why? What's going on? Has it ever happened before? Have the Mormons ever fought anyone? Like civil rights? Or polygamy? And then what happens after that fight? After that fight rages for a decade, after that fight rages for one generation, what happens? The church catches up to the rest of us, doesn't it? Jesus Christ puts down his fight and stops holding us back, and we're allowed to make progress. We're allowed to outlaw slavery. We're allowed to give women the vote. We're allowed to let the homosexuals marry. It's going to happen. The church is going to do it. The Pope is going to do it. But right now, he's part of the problem. It's part of the things that are holding us back. If he was talking to God, if God was talking to him, he'd know what we look like in 20 years and he'd look like that. But he doesn't. He looks like we looked 20 years ago, in the 90s. That's who the Pope looks like. Someone normal from the 90s. But that's too late. It's 2 decades too late. God needs to be 2 decades ahead. And if he's not, I think we know why.